Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're making a Halloween router jig.
I'm just kidding. It's really not scary at all. And it doesn't have anything to do with Halloween. Yeah, that too. So I want you guys to know I pay attention in the comment section. I've had a number of people asking about router jigs. Now, recently I've been doing some, some interesting, some little bit of crazy jigs on the table saw. And the reason I'm doing a few jigs like this is I'm going to be at the Hickory, North Carolina Klingspor Extravaganza event coming up in basically a week from now. So I want to have a few things to bring in, show and tell. So I figure we'll throw a router jig into the mix. This is something I promise you probably have never seen anything like this before. I haven't seen anything like this before, and it's going to be fun and cool and exciting and genius. I can't.
So this project is based off a swing arm router system, and I know people have seen that before. A router sits on a swing arm and swings back and forth. The limitation to that is that you can only cut in a spherical pattern. You have to go in a circle because you have one pivot point and it swings from that pivot point. So the concept behind this build is to make it so you can adjust that swing. So you can swing the router tip in a parabolic fashion, and not only in a single parabolic fashion, but in different angles and different orientations, so you can create just a wide variety of shapes with this swing arm router system. Now to do that, I'm using a fairly typical elliptical style system. These are made for cutting ellipses out on the flat. So if you want to cut an elliptical shape out, you would build something like this and stick a router on it, and then you would cut it out. And this allows you to move your router in two different, or orient it in two different places. So you can, say you want it to be 10 inches wide or 21 inches wide, and then maybe 35 inches long. You use the two pivot points, and these two pivot points work in conjunction with each other and create this elliptical shape. Now this will make sense here in a little bit. Well, I'm going to do the same thing, except for I'm going to put my elliptical jig vertically, and then I'm going to hang the router from it, if that makes sense. It will in a minute, I promise. So pretty typical construction here. I'm just using plywood and construction grade 2x4s to create this system. And then I built the tower and then screwed the elliptical jig to the tower itself. Now once that's done, I have to create the arm for this. And I'm doing something a little bit unique with this because time is always a consideration. So to make this whole thing work, I need two bolts basically coming out of each position where the swing arm will be fixed. And these little sliding mechanisms or dovetail sliders will slide back and forth in those slots. Now the arm itself, I'm going to eventually make the router sit on it so it will move up and down, or it's adjustable, so to speak. And I put the router at a bit of an angle because I don't have a proper router bit for this. I don't have a bull nose. All I really have is straight bits and CNC bits. And rather than trying to go find a bit to make this work, I just figured I would use what I had. So I mounted the router at an angle in both the vertical position and the horizontal position. So it would act a little bit more like a roundover bit, if that makes sense. As it attacks the wood, it's attacking it from the side of the bit at about, I guess it was about a 20-degree angle. So it gives you a little bit of a roundover effect, which is a little bit less aggressive in the material. So with the arm made, I just needed to drill some holes in, and these holes are where it'll mount on to the bolts that go back and forth in the elliptical jig. So that's kind of how you get that motion. Now I'm not getting crazy with mounting the router here. I just put a plate on, used the base of the router, and then screwed that to that plate, and then that would allow me to move the router bit up and down as needed. Now this is not ideal. It worked for this testing scenario, and I will definitely come up with a better system here very shortly. So this is where you kind of see that first bit of how this works. The router arm is attached in two positions, and the one position keeps it, a constant vertical, and the other keeps it a constant horizontal. So rather than creating a circle shape, it creates a parabolic shape. And in this case, I'm going pretty shallow with this, and I just grabbed a piece of walnut to test it out on. What I did find is that you really only want to go about halfway in, so I put a stop in on that. And then I was using this little hand clamp to hold it, but what I found is it wasn't really aggressive, so I didn't need the clamp. So I ended up taking the clamp off, and if you just took little bits at a time, it was very stable to hold by hand. So in a shot here, you're going to see it looks like my hand is really close to this blade in the next shot, and it's really not. It's a solid 10 inches away. So it's just one of those things that looks a little bit scary. But this worked really well, and this gave me this really cool parabolic shape. Now this is just the beginning of this system. This can do so much more, including butt cups on seats and doing some really cool other things that I think are going to be pretty awesome. So this was a lot of fun. The results were pretty cool. I had this really neat parabolic shape, and this is totally adjustable. I can adjust it by changing the position of the elliptical jig. I can adjust it by changing the position of the arm and the sliding pins. So I can get all kinds of different parabolic shapes, and I can do some fun things like texturing and patterning, and even making really fancy shells that you would see on the top of my fancy furniture. And there's a few other tricks up his sleeve, so we'll do more with this jig here very shortly. So this was definitely a lot of fun. I need to get some good router bits in for this and give it a go with some proper router bits, and put a little bit more work into this, and I think it's going to be a pretty awesome system to have around.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. So this is just touching the iceberg tip. Tipping the touch of the iceberg. Touching the tip of the iceberg. We're just getting started with this. I have plans for this for butt cupping seats out, doing all kinds of really fun and interesting things, including maybe even carving some fairly complicated shells that you would see on the top of, really nice furniture. So there's a bunch of fun stuff I want to do with this. Obviously I wanted to add a turntable too. The first thing I want to do is add a turntable to this. I wasn't able to get to it for today's video, but I will have it in the next video. Now what would be really cool is if this thing could not only do parabolic shapes like this, but also do the other side of them. So you can make parabolic shaped bowls, and even very steep kind of almost vases in a way, or vases, depending on how you say, both on the inside and outside. And I know that doesn't seem like it's possible, but trust me when I tell you it is. So anyway, thanks for watching guys. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's video, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit that bell notification so you get notified when my new videos come up. Like, you're not going to want to miss what we do with this thing next. It's going to be pretty fun. Talk to you guys later.